There has been a massive downward shift in the California real estate market this year. Home prices are dropping fast, inventory is spiking, and this could be the signal that the California housing crash has begun. The number of listings in the state has jumped 51% since April of last year, which means if this pace continues for the next year, California will surpass the record high mark set in October 2018, making it the highest level since Realtor.com began tracking inventory in the summer of 2016. Now combine this with what seems to be record low demand and you have a recipe for disaster. According to this recent article by Keith Griff, since mid-2023, home and condo sales in California have been lower than what they were during the 2008 crash. This means that the hope for inventory to suddenly stop pushing up is fading fast. The bleeding will continue as long as this sales figure remains here at record lows. Right now, prices are relatively stable in the state, but at a certain point, this pileup of homes is going to quickly change the situation. As I've described in many of my past videos, real estate operates in a very unique way where inventory tells the tale, but not right away. It builds and builds until the situation changes overnight. If you look at any chart of any real estate crash, it's almost always a period of rapid growth where everyone thinks home prices go up forever, followed by a sudden drop and a complete freefall lasting years. This is a result of simple human psychology combined with the lack of liquidity in the real estate world. Nobody explains this better than legendary investor Warren Buffett. When asked in 2008 why we had the '08 real estate crash, he said something simple yet profound. And the reason I'm bringing it up today is because this is exactly what's going on in the market in 2025. Take a listen.
You can't stand to see your neighbor getting rich. You know you're smarter than he is, and he's doing these things, you know, and he's getting rich, and your spouse is getting unhappy with you because you aren't doing it. Pretty soon you start doing it. And so you get what I call the natural progression, the three I's: the innovators, the imitators, and the idiots. You know, and that's what happens in financial market. We've been through all three, have we? Everybody just kind of goes along, and you look kind of silly if you disagree. I mean, you know, you could have these crazy internet valuations in the late 1990s, but they proved themselves out in the market. I mean, the next day they were selling for more than they were the day before, and people said, you know, you're crazy if you don't get in on this. So it's very human. Now, with housing, it's something even more dramatic than that, because most people aspire to own their own home. And if you really think that housing prices are going to go up next year and the year after, you feel if I don't buy it this year, I'm going to have to buy it next year. That's not true of an internet stock, but it's true of a home. And then when somebody makes it very easy for you to do it by saying you don't really have to put up any money, or you can lie about your income a little, or, you know, we'll give you a 100% mortgage, you're going to do it because everybody that's done it has been proven right. You have what they call social proof, and, you know, you're going to feel like an idiot if you didn't do it. Next year the house costs more.
It's found money.
It's found money, sure.
Social proof, that's the key here. Everybody knows somebody who bought their house in the pre-COVID days and made a killing. In California, the median listing price in April of 2020 was $600,000. By May of 2022, that same house likely could be sold for $775,000. So in 2 years, that so-called idiot neighbor Warren Buffett references in his video made $200,000 off of what was likely less than a $50,000 down payment. And if you see this happening around you, you're gonna feel pressure to buy. All your friends are getting rich, making seemingly stupid purchases, while you sit on the sidelines complaining how inflated these prices are, but it doesn't matter because they just keep going up, and with each person that profits, the pressure on you to buy grows exponentially. This is especially true when we're talking about the American dream, which is housing. If you read the comments, you are likely going to see that people are completely defeated. The understanding is that home prices go up forever, and everyone that doesn't buy now is screwed. To them, recessions simply don't happen anymore, and bubbles are not real. That's the mentality we have today. Despite 13 straight years of unbelievable gains, especially in the Southern California markets, the idea that this will ever go down is simply impossible to comprehend for many. But if there is one place where they should understand how volatile real estate really is, it's California. In Los Angeles, for example, outside of the major '08 crash that essentially decimated every market in the US, LA had another relatively recent crash that nobody really talks about. From April of 1990 to February of 1996, LA experienced a major crash with values on the Case-Shiller declining by 28%. This is often labeled the hidden crash because it's not really talked about about anymore. 2008 has overshadowed it, but back in the 80s, home prices in LA basically doubled in 6 years, and after the end of the Cold War with a decrease in defense jobs on top of a small recession, values plummeted, especially in higher-end neighborhoods, where we saw declines as high as 50% in places like Beverly Hills and Newport Beach. And remember, this was happening before '08. It doesn't take a major national decline to kill the local markets, it just takes a bubble to build up and a catalyst to appear. This is exactly what Buffett said in his take, and before we continue, let's have one more listen to him from that same interview. This next segment drives that point home and perfectly captures the dynamics playing out in 2025.
That inevitably led to where we are today.
Well, we had all of that, but I would say the biggest single cause was that we had an incredible residential real estate bubble. I mean, you can go back to tulip bulbs in Holland 400 years ago.
Yeah.
The human beings going through combinations of fear, greed, and all of that sort of thing, their behavior can lead to bubbles. And it may have had an internet bubble at one time, and you've had a farm bubble, farmland bubble in the Midwest, which resulted in all kinds of tragedy in the early 80s. But we've had 300 million Americans, their lending institutions, their government, their media, all believe that house prices were going to go up consistently. And that got built into a $20 trillion residential home market. Lending was done based on it, and everybody did a lot of foolish things. And where people really behaved in a fraudulent way or something, we'll go back and find the culprits later on. But that really isn't the problem we have. I mean, that's where it came from, though. We leveraged up, and if you have a 20% fall in the value of a $20 trillion asset, that's $4 trillion. And when $4 trillion losses land in the wrong part of this economy, it can gum up the whole place.
And it continues with respect to the housing market.
It continues.
And some will argue that we have to do something about that in terms of the long-term recovery of the American economy.
Well, there's no question we have an excess stock. The good thing is we have household formation in this country. We have a country where, I don't know whether it's 1 million households a year or more, but get formed. So we can eat off an inventory. But the inventory is too big, and house prices just soared beyond reason in many places, and they got financed in silly ways, and people lied about loans. All kinds of excesses entered into it. But that is that is the single biggest cause of why we are here.
So the real question is, are we in a bubble today? Because if we are, history tells us what comes next. We've seen this movie before. In the early 90s, California experienced a massive real estate crash that started in the same way. A boom in home prices, a concentrated job market collapse, and a mild recession that popped the entire thing. Now look at where we are now. Since March of 2012, the average California home has tripled in value. That's 9% annual growth for 13 straight years, completely outpacing rents, incomes, and inflation. This is not normal. Sure, you can argue that this surge was powered by the rise of big tech. Silicon Valley was on fire throughout the 2010s and the post-COVID era, but that story is over. Tech growth is slowing. The number of software development job postings on Indeed has crashed by 73% since 2022. Just browse any programming forum and the desperation is real. Layoffs and hiring freezes, and it's not just tech. The media industry, another pillar of California's economy, is going through a massive shift. Hollywood isn't what it used to be. Streaming wars, strikes, AI, this sector is also bleeding. So if you do a quick review, you start to see some patterns here. A historic run-up in prices, a fading high-paying job market, inventory up 54% in just the last year. All that's missing is the spark. A mild recession, a bit of unemployment, and history could repeat itself. That's how it went down in the 90s, that's how it went down in 2008, and if you zoom out, California looks like it's standing on the edge once again. Thank you guys for watching. As always, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you're seeing if you're a buyer or seller in the California markets today.